But now, standing in the attic under a dim bulb, the house felt different, cold, uninviting, and thick with an eerie silence. She rummaged through a trunk of her grandmother's belongings, looking for something to connect with the woman she once knew. Her fingers brushed against a bundle of old letters tied with a frayed ribbon. The paper was yellowed and brittle, the ink smudged but still legible. The top letter caught her eye. It was addressed to Margaret Thompson, her grandmother's maiden name, and dated October 18th, 1944. Claire frowned. 1944? That's during the war. She unfolded the letter carefully, her heart sinking as she began to read. My dearest Margaret, by the time you read this, I fear I may no longer be in this world. The war has taken so much from us already, but I need you to know that I will love you until my last breath. If fate allows it, I will find my way back to you, no matter the distance or the veil between life and death. Forever yours, Edward. The words sent a chill down Claire's spine. She had never heard of an Edward before. Her grandfather's name was Henry, and as far as she knew, her grandmother had married him shortly after the war ended. What the hell? She muttered, flipping through the other letters. They were all from Edward, each one more desperate and sorrowful than the last. Claire turned to leave the attic, but the bulb flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. She froze, her breathing shallow. A sound broke the silence, a faint scratching. It was coming from the corner of the attic where an old rocking chair sat empty. Hello? Claire's voice wavered. The chair creaked as if someone invisible had just settled into it. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table, the bundle of letters in front of her. She read through each one, piecing together a tragic love story. Edward had been a soldier in World War II, writing to her grandmother from the front lines. His letters spoke of hope, love, and an unshakable promise to return. But the last letter was different. Margaret, the battlefield is cold, and the shadows grow longer each day. I can feel something watching me from the edges of the forest, something that doesn't belong to this world. If I don't come back, know that it wasn't the enemy that took me. It was something far worse. Edward. Claire shivered. The letter felt heavy, as if the words themselves carried a curse. She tried to shake the feeling and decided to call it a night. But as she climbed the stairs to her bedroom, she noticed something strange. A single piece of paper was lying on the floor near the front door. It was another letter. Her blood ran cold as she picked it up. Margaret, I told you I would find my way back to you. I'm closer than you think. Edward. Claire's hands trembled. The ink was fresh. Over the next few days, the letters kept appearing. She'd wake up to find one slipped under her door, on her nightstand, or even tucked into her coat pocket. Each letter grew darker in tone, Edward's love turning into obsession. Margaret, why are you ignoring me? I came back for you. Don't you remember your promise? You said you'd wait for me. Edward. Claire couldn't escape him. The house seemed to trap her, the walls whispering his name at night. She tried burning the letters, but they reappeared the next morning, untouched by the flames. Desperate for answers, Claire visited the town's historical society. An elderly archivist listened intently as she recounted the story, her voice shaking. When Claire mentioned Edward's name, the woman's face paled. Edward Williams? He was engaged to Margaret Thompson, but he never came back from the war. His unit was ambushed in the Ardennes. They say he died instantly. Claire showed her one of the letters, and the woman gasped. This is his handwriting. But how? I don't know, Claire said, her voice cracking. I just want it to stop. The archivist leaned closer. There's an old legend about soldiers who died unfulfilled. They say their spirits linger, trying to complete what they couldn't in life. If Edward believes you're Margaret, he'll never leave me alone, Claire finished, her stomach twisting. That night, Claire decided to confront the spirit. She sat in the attic, the letters spread out before her. "Edward," she called out, her voice trembling, "if you're here, show yourself." The air grew icy, and the faint scent of smoke and earth filled the room. Slowly, the rocking chair began to move. A shadowy figure materialized, its face obscured, but its presence overwhelming. "Margaret?" The voice was a whisper, filled with longing. "I'm not Margaret," Claire said firmly. "She's gone. She moved on. You need to do the same."